Hey everybody, welcome back to Crypto Events Announcements. My name is Eugene Ramaryanka. I'm your Crypto MC. Please help me welcome my today's upcoming guest. He is David Galea from Malta. He is CEO of Beat Limited, and he also will be the distinguished speaker at the Blockchain Live Europe Conference in Moscow in October 16 and 17, hosted by Sergey Khitrov and his brilliant Listing That Help team. David, it's a great pleasure to have you on the interview.
Thank you very much for having me here. It's indeed a pleasure, Eugene. I welcome everybody to the conference that's going to be held in a couple of weeks' time.
For those who may be not familiar with you, could you please give us a bit intro about yourself, tell about yourself, and what are you working on right now in the blockchain industry?
Sure. Okay. Our company is called Beat. It stands for Business Excellence in Achieving Transformation. We help companies in the technology space, basically, to set up an operation and thrive in Malta. We register the companies and provide them with licenses and provide them also with equity funding and basically financing to make sure that they are prospecting in a way that is in line with their business plan. We are also what is called a VFA agent. What is a VFA agent? A VFA agent is a virtual financial assets agent, which is regulated by the Virtual Financial Asset Act, which was incorporated in November of 2018. And basically, it entitles a number of agents, including ourselves, to enable companies interested in setting up either an ICO or an IEO, basically, or alternatively, setting up a cryptocurrency exchange or a payment services gateway in Malta. And there is a specific licensing regime through which only VFA agents can assist these companies to achieve the required licensing provisions. And we are one of these leading companies in Malta who provide this service. Basically, there are two provisions in the Act. There is Article 7 and Article 14 of the Act. We are registered under both articles, which means we can register what are called IVFAO, okay, which is basically an initial virtual financial asset offering, which is very similar to an ICO or an IEO, or alternatively to under Article 14, which are service providers in the blockchain space, basically looking to set up payment service gateways, cryptocurrency exchanges, and other related instruments which are necessary to develop in that context. The Maltese law makes a distinction specifically between the security token offering, which is regulated by the MiFID directive, okay, and for which the government of Malta has now issued also a white paper for regulating, coming up with specific regulations in respect of the STOs, and the VFAs, which basically looks at the ICOs that are going to be issued by prospective applicants in the process. In fact, one of the things that we do is what is called a financial instrument test. There is a specific provision in the law whereby we as agents, whenever a client contacts us, we determine whether the instrument that or the token which is going to be issued or managed qualifies as a virtual financial asset or as a security token. So we do this extensive test. Basically, there are a number of layers that are carried out, and we have to agree with the promoters of the IVFAO whether that constitutes a financial instrument which is regulated by the MiFID directive, or alternatively, an instrument which is regulated by the virtual financial assets. So that is a critical element that gets in the mix and which needs to be managed in an appropriate way.
Well, I have to ask you about Malta, of course. This country, small European country, has very, very good PR managers in the blockchain area. All the world is paying attention to Malta. If you compare Malta with other crypto heavens in the world, so if to say so, with Singapore, Hong Kong, Switzerland, and so on, what is better in Malta? What is not better?
Sure. Thank you for this question. I think it's a very important question that one needs to ask. We frequently get compared a lot with Estonia, which is quite an established cryptocurrency destination. we as a country have positioned ourselves as a destination for high quality cryptocurrency and blockchain based companies. So we try to attract only the best. So we don't try to basically advertise Malta as a destination which it is easy to get a license. We promote Malta as a base whereby you can get an established quality mark in your blockchain project, which can be used around the world, whereby investors have an assurance that that instrument has a good standing, and because basically the laws are based specifically on investor protection. So the investor protection lies at the center of the crypto laws that have been established in Malta. So that is clearly something which we treasure and we value as an island. In fact, one of the elements which we have included in the law, which we do not find in any other legislation, is the concept of a systems auditor. What is a systems auditor? A systems auditor is basically an entity which reviews the technological platform that the companies are willing to basically post on an initial virtual financial asset offering, and a certification needs to be issued before actually the instrument is issued on a recognized DLT exchange. And this is one of the quality assurance marks that goes into the mix. There are, I think, other controls which are quite well in hand. There are a number of rigid rules in terms of due diligence of investors and of projects, which VFA agents are responsible, and they have an onerous obligation at law with the authority to make sure that the investment is basically up to scratch. In fact, we as VFA agents have also potential criminal liability in terms of the law if something happens in the investment and it is proven that the due diligence was not up to speed. So it is quite an onerous obligation on us as VFA agents, in which we have to make sure that we screen the applicants in an appropriate way and only the best are actually presented to the authorities.
Well, I know you have already been familiar with the Blockchain Live conference brand. You were in St. Petersburg in fall 2018.
Yes.
We didn't meet there, but we were in one place in one time.
Yes.
Why do you decide to share your experience and ideas again at the Blockchain Live Europe conference again in Russia, in Moscow this fall?
Yes, I think one of the main reasons that is attracting me to Blockchain Live is the concentration of speakers and also delegates coming from Eastern European countries. I feel there is a lot of impetus from these countries to invest in blockchain companies, and I feel that Malta has a lot to offer in terms of not only as a regulatory jurisdiction, but also in terms of a space where one can do business for these companies to set up in Malta and thrive in a good operating environment.
Well, I think you will be the excellent Malta ambassador at the Blockchain Live Europe conference. David, what issues and topics will you be covering during your speech in Moscow?
Okay, basically I will be covering topics related to innovation in law in Malta. Basically, I will be covering topics in terms of what is happening in the Virtual Financial Assets Act, what are the main provisions of the Act, and how can one set up a cryptocurrency company in Malta, looking also at the advantages from a fiscal point of view in terms of setting up an operation related to cryptocurrency in Malta, also the tax treatment in certain areas of these operations, and more recently the new AI strategy, which although it's not a blockchain-oriented space, I feel there is a lot of synergy that is created between blockchain and AI. They also mostly go a lot hand in hand. The AI strategy that has been issued by government and will be presented formally throughout the Delta Summit, which is held this week. So this is something which I would like to basically divulge with the spectators and the delegates that are attending the conference in Moscow. And the third area is also an innovative stream which is related to the regulation of STOs. STOs obviously are regulated by the MiFID directive. However, the government of Malta has come up with an ambitious white paper whereby additional and specific rules are being dictated in terms of potential new areas where more legal certainty is being given to these financial instruments and how they are treated and how they are regulated. Also, another area of interest which I would like to touch upon is what is called the FinTech Regulatory Sandbox. Okay, what is this sandbox? This sandbox is basically a new initiative which Malta has launched in the past 2 months, whereby fintech companies can apply to the authorities to be regulated under a specific regime for a period of time to test their innovation and as well benefiting from a number of incentives that they can make themselves available during the process.
From your viewpoint as an experienced insider, what are the main trends right now in the industry?
The trends in the industry are moving, in my view, towards verging. We have seen a move from ICOs to IEOs and STOs, so clearly there has been this move. In my view, we will be seeing also professional funds, which will be set up specifically to address the cryptocurrency regime. So we will be seeing the basically convergence of different coins and different tokens together to diversify risk and the portfolio of the different coins to give a better standpoint for the investor to spread his risk across a number of baskets in the coins. This is a particularly interesting concept, especially since blockchain enables the creation of cryptocurrencies whereby one can have a portfolio at a relatively very low transaction cost. So you can have a small investment in a multiple number of coins which are driven by the market, and you can basically diversify your risk in an appropriate way.
And finally, David, whom will you recommend to visit Blockchain Live Europe 2019 conference in cold, full Moscow? What type of person will mostly benefit from attending this conference, by your opinion?
A number of delegates, I feel mostly those people who would like to invest in blockchain companies. There is quite a lacuna in terms of investment because there has been a lot of fear in terms of investing in blockchain. So I would really invite investors to see that there are a number of jurisdictions, including Malta, who are serious about this topic, and they provide a good level of assurance in terms of the projects that are put forward to put the mind at rest of investors to invest in these type of companies. Clearly, there are those delegates who are interested in setting up an operation in the blockchain space, so not just in the cryptocurrency field, but also in the blockchain space, to visit the conference, to hear about different topics, and to learn not just from a regulatory point of view, but also from other spheres in terms of how to leverage blockchain in terms of competitive advantage, and also users of potential blockchain technology, because so far we've seen most of the interest coming up from service providers. But the industry so far has shown scant interest, perhaps possibly because of the early stage of investment of most blockchain operations. I would sincerely advise these companies to visit the conference, to learn about potential use cases in their business model, to make sure that they can leverage a competitive advantage over their competitors by using this technology. They have to be conscious of the fact that the technology per se does not create a competitive advantage. It is how you use the technology from a business point of view. And this is a very important point which I feel that delegates should learn from this conference.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't go to Malta, so Malta goes to you with David Galea. So let's meet at the largest Europe Fall Conference. Please find your promo code Romanenko and get your 10% discount. And by the way, we can also meet with you at other events this fall. So visit cryptomc.com and find the list of events and the list of promo codes. Please subscribe my Facebook page and YouTube channel and stay tuned for next speaker's interview. David Galea from Malta and Eugene Romanenko over here. Thank you for watching and see you in October 16 and 17 at the Blockchain Life Europe 2019 conference in Moscow. Stay tuned, stay crypto, and thank you very much, David.
Thank you very much. Looking forward.